Coming up in this episode, the miracle that you are, all your ancestors, what did they go through? All their struggles, all their choices, all their decisions that led to you being born.
The immensity of the gift that you've been given. I don't give a fuck how heavy it is. It is never too late for you to take a stark fucking look in the mirror. Who am I? What do I want? What do I need to do next?
You are now listening to the Here for the Truth podcast, hosted by Joel Rafidi and Yerasimos.
What's up, guys? Yerasimos and I just finished recording this solo episode for your ears, intended to inspire, intended to remind you, intended to spark remembrance, intended just to light you up and to bring you back to a place of reverence for all that is and all that you are. Right before we get into that episode, we want to make an incredible announcement to every single person listening and hearing this right now. We want to see you win. We want to see you inspired and living authentically more than anything else. And so we are offering the most ridiculous sale ever on the self-guided version of our 10-week program, Rise Above the Herd, which in my opinion is this is the education which most of us did not get. And I would say 99% of us did not get. This is the foundational tools and embodiment practices to really move you closer to the core of your being and to move you closer to that authentic path, if not a far way down it. So, Rise Above the Herd, we created in 2022. It was originally a live cohort-based program. Students of those previous cohorts paid up to $3,000 USD for this program. Now, this offer is so ridiculous, we actually don't want to say it here. We want people who are genuinely feel called to engage in this process. So if you do want to learn more, there is a Wrath interest group, Telegram group link in the bio here. Once you join that group, you'll have all the information about what this is, and you will see for yourself exactly what we're putting on the table. So if you're down to answer the call or simply learn more about what we're offering for the next 7 days only, please join that Telegram interest group. Watch the video that'll be pinned to the top, and the offer link will be there as well. We just want people who are genuine to engage in this incredibly immersive, holistic experience for you to become a more real and more authentic in every arena of your life. All that being said, guys, enjoy this episode. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Here for the Truth podcast. I'm Joel Rafidi, got my co-host Yerasimos with me as always. Here he is, flexing those weak-ass 45-year-old arms.
Yeah, I could get a little bit more strength in there, but I feel good for how I'm living and feeling and looking at 45. We just got to keep it going.
Yeah, for those that weren't privy, Yerasimos and I engaged in our first ever arm wrestle at Confluence 2025, and
Joel took me down, I got to say. We'll see what happens next Confluence, but
put the old man down, put the old man in his place. Yes,
that's all right, dude. You could take the brawn. I'll keep the mind.
Guys,
well,
there is no guest with us here today.
Yeah, so
every now and then,
hope you still listen.
Every now and then, we like to pay homage to our roots, and that is really just us two rapping on what it means to live this life, to walk the authentic path, to be on this journey of self-discovery, and just experience whatever the hell this is.
I know. It's pretty wild when you think about it. It's like there's so much mystery in the world, and we're trying so hard to like find certainty. And to some degree, I'm all for that. But I think the thing I'm seeing more and more, especially in like the self-development space and the personal development space, is like we're like, sure, Joel and I, we created something and we have a program and we're here to support people, and I think we do a pretty great job at it. And like the reality is we're on our journey. We're continuing to evolve. We're just continuing to grow. We're continuing to face new challenges in our life, as entrepreneurs, as, thought leaders, as brothers, as children, as like just what it means to be human. And like we're on that path. Every phase of life brings something new to face and deal with. And that's where we're at. And so we want to stay humble to that fact, not real feel like we have it all figured out, and at the same time be really confident in what we do have to offer and what we can provide. And I feel really good about that, especially the journey that I've been on the last 20 plus years in this personal development, truth seeking space that has led me to where I am today, which ultimately I just want people to live the best lives they can live. I want people to really know themselves on the deepest levels, to get out of the compare and contrast game, to get very clear on who this unique gift is that they are in this world, to get clear on that, to dissolve away conditioning from family, from culture, from priests, from teachers, and really take ownership of the fact that you are an individual, unique, that has never existed before, that will never exist again like this. And how do you like that's one of our lines. I think it's my line, but you say it, and then now we both say it. But you know what I mean? Like, how do you take advantage of this? How do you relish the fact that you have life force running through you, that you have been given this gift? And do you see it as a gift or do you see it as a burden? That doesn't mean that life isn't filled with burdens and challenges and things are rough, but ultimately, how do you meet life? How do you meet challenges? And ultimately, I think that's what we're about, and is one of the primary main things of what we offer with, even with the podcast and the work that we do and Rise Above the Herd, and even within our community.
Yeah. Well said, man. Like, what is the nature of your engagements with self, life, and reality on like a day-to-day basis? And you speak to it very well, man. And it's like the deeper thing, as always. And for me, it's like it's beyond a belief that each soul is born unique. Each soul is incarnated, bearing gifts and bearing a unique path that intends to unfold. And that word intention is like, for me, I feel like we all intended to become someone unique at even pre coming to whatever this experience is. And if that's the case, if we can, I guess, come to the same page and hold for a moment that potentially that might be a fact, then do your actions and does the way that you prioritize your energy on a day-to-day basis, does that speak to reverence for the sacredness of that possibility? And I think it's so important that each and every single one of us take a stark look at our lives. And for me, it's about recognizing and acknowledging more so where I'm not making decisions that honor that fact. And for me, it's like some people can get really overwhelmed in like, what is my calling? What is my purpose? Who am I meant to be? But I think for that calling to speak to us in increased decibels, first and foremost, we have to create space for that calling. And the initial question for me on my journey always was, where am I not living in alignment? Where am I living out of truth? Where am I agreeing to offers that don't serve me and don't resonate with the deeper self that exists within me? And on my personal journey, it began with obviously agreements, family agreements, agreements in careers, agreements in businesses, agreements in relationships, agreements in friendships, agreements in my living environments that I realized weren't resonant with the deeper calling of my soul. So bit by bit, it was questioning those agreements and then creating new agreements based on that blueprint that is coming forth. And it's like I came to know that blueprint, and I still am, and I will forever be coming to know that blueprint. But I came to know that blueprint through these different systems of self knowledge. My journey, very much when I decided to really walk away from the crowd, started with studying tarot. I joined Michael Tsarian's Taroscopes Mystery School, and I learned and I discovered my personal decanate, a single card of the minor arcana that represents me. and represents my birth, which was the Seven of Cups. And I read Michael's meaning of the Seven of Cups, and I was like, wow, there is something really divine in my personal map, in my personal blueprints, because these were things I already knew about myself. And if I already knew them about myself, then that means that these are things that I'm here to give, I'm here to lean on, I'm here to leverage in my life. And I met Yerasimos. He introduced me into human design. I studied astrology. I learned about the source cards, and the amalgamation of information that we have about who we are can kind of point us and even lead to greater remembrance of what that is. And I feel for so many people, it's like, who am I? What am I meant to be? Who am I in relationship to different people? Like, I feel like a hodgepodge of all different things just morphed together, floating in the fucking breeze, floating in the wind. And I think that we can begin to chip away and refine who we are, and what that calling is by being sincerely curious. And it's like, I feel extremely grateful in my life that I've found a purpose, that I feel like I've answered the call to heroism. I've answered the call to embark on this journey of really bringing manifest what it is that I'm here to give and who I'm meant to serve. And so, like, introspection in that sense has lessened a bit for me, because I feel like now I see the path and I want to pour as much creative energy into that path as possible. And that feels good, but the journey is far from over. It's really only just begun.
Dude, I like that. We just need to cut that, record that, and share that. No, man, I totally hear what you're saying. And while you were talking, I was trying to look for this quote. I think you shared, I don't know if it was like a Naval tweet. Did you share it recently? Some Naval tweet. I don't know what it was, but I think it related to something that was going on in my head while you were talking, which is like, how do you have to become radically honest with yourself, and that the proof is in the pudding.
Well,
Like, if you're not content,
the quote is, the only real test of intelligence is if you get what you want out of life.
yeah. So what made me think of that was something I say often, which is like, the proof is in the pudding. So it's like, what is your life reflecting back to you? What is the state of, one, your relationship to self? When you look in the mirror, how do you feel about yourself? What is the state of your life? What is the state of the work that you're doing in the world? What is the state of your relationships? Primary romantic relationships. What's the relationships with the friends and colleagues in your life? And so if they aren't what one part of you, or a deeper sense of your essence, if they aren't what that essence of you wants, that you dream about, that you visualize, that when you're alone at night before you go to bed, when you wake up in the morning and you're thinking like, oh, I want this in my life, or I want to experience this, I'm not experiencing this. This is where you have to be so honest with yourself. And like, what are you doing about it? What, instead of pointing the finger and being absorbed into this victim consciousness that comes from so many different angles and that has been programmed into us in society through religion, through culture, through schooling, through media and Hollywood. It's like, what are you doing about it?
Yeah.
And like, what everything you're talking about, these systems, human design, the source cards, astrology, etc., like, they aren't there for you to give your power away to them like you would to any other person, a teacher, a mentor. They are there, and you used a great word. It's like to inspire this remembrance, this knowing, this affirmation of things. Hopefully you intuit within yourself. Like, you have an idea of like the things you're into, the strengths you have, the things you're drawn to, the challenges that you may face. I would say most people, especially if you're listening to this podcast, you kind of have an idea and a sense of that. And I find that these systems, they just come in and it's like, boom, there's like a deeper staking in the ground of like, I am this unique being, this individual that is on this planet at the time with something unique to offer.
Yeah.
And the question is, are you going to live up to that potential? And are you going to get very clear on the role fear plays in your life, and how to not let those fearful parts of you take over the wheel and make decisions for you? Okay. And we're talking about irrational fears. We're not talking about like oh shit, like a car's coming in front of me. We're talking about those fears of like, you know, fears of success, fears of failure, fears of,
Not being
sending.
liked, fears of being judged, fears of being questioned and outcasted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you feel a connection with someone, the fear of, oh, they're not going to like me. Like, why should I even go up to them and say hello to them? The fear of reaching out to someone on social media and being like, hey, your work really inspires me. And I just want to let you know that, and blah, 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 whatever. Like, what's keeping you from taking action? We have big actions in our life. We have little micro actions that happen within 24 hours in a single day.
Yeah.
What is impacting your decision to make those actions that are going to guide you towards more fulfillment, more play, more fun, more joy, more excitement, more money?
Yeah. Yeah, man. And it's like, again, don't get overwhelmed by by like my potential, my purpose, this big thing in the future of who I'm going to be. I think the micro is so fucking important, man. It's like your fucking interests are not random. And the more that we go down this path, the more that we are realizing that the next key and the next step is simply what is the thing that interests you most next to do? And like by following that thread, by teasing that out, by stepping on those stones, consequentially, like doors open where doors didn't exist. Relationships form where relationships had no potential of forming. When you are a lit up, inspired individual human being that feels deserving of the right to pursue your own interests, this is reality creation, in my opinion. Reality isn't going to mirror back to you your stagnancy, your fear, your laziness, your refusal to answer the call. It's not gonna come and provide you with the goods and provide you with the opportunities and provide you with the juice and provide you with the possibility if you're not giving it the source material to build upon that and to enhance upon that. And it's I don't care. I don't care if you're 50 years old, living in your mum's basement, like with all these burdens around you, with, multiple kids. I don't give a fuck how heavy it is for you. It is never too late for you to take a stark fucking look in the mirror and be like, who am I? What do I want? What do I need to do next? And this conversation and everything that we're talking about in terms of like walking away from the crowd, not falling victim to one's fears, it requires a base level of self-esteem. And this is why self-esteem has been such an important conversation to us over the course of so many years now. It's why self-esteem is the crux of everything that we teach, right? It's the crux of Rise Above the Herd in many ways. Because unless you've developed that relationship with oneself of respect, of reverence, of care, of enjoying one's own company, of believing in one's own efficacy to execute on the things that one are interested in, then nothing else is really possible. And we really have to come back home to what is our relationship to self. And there have been many incredibly successful entrepreneurs over the years who probably never even asked this question, right? But the reality is that through their actions, through their work, through their engagement with reality, they got feedback about who they are, about what they're capable of. Their self-belief was enhanced over time and self-esteem was built. But for many of us in this world, I think that are more like introspective oriented primarily, we need to do that dance. We need to do that dance of where am I at really? And also really actively engaging with reality and affecting the reality principle and taking real tangible steps forward in the world.
Yeah, well said, man.
And I mean, I just lifted up my mug and I'm looking in the reflection of the Zoom camera right now. And it says, "Here for the truth." And I mean, it's simple, man.
Yeah,
It's simple.
it's
It's
simple.
very
Make
fucking
truth.
hard and it's simple.
Yeah,
What is the truth that you are here for? Where are the lies that are still festering in your life? Where is the inauthenticity that still exists? Have you built a world around you based on agreements that aren't truthful to who you really are and what you really want? And if that's the case, please don't expect to lead a life of fulfillment anytime soon, because truth has to be the bedrock.
yeah, I agree. It has to be the bedrock. And I think we talk about here for the truth. And I think many people in our world can get lost on the external world. And first and foremost, it has to come within. You really need to put the time and energy to know yourself. And you have to get out of the compare and contrast game,
Yeah.
not in a sense of, looking out and being inspired by people. You can, but like, another person's life may not be meant for you. Your path is unique.
Yeah.
Maybe your path isn't to start Amazon.com,
Yeah.
It's like you have to get very clear on the things that you love and that you value and what you want to build and what you want to create. Whatever. It doesn't even mean you're going to be an entrepreneur. Like if you really get so much value out of being a mother, how can you be the best mother that you can be? Do you catch yourself being, maybe yelling more and being triggered and you go, "Oh man, like I want to really work on this. I don't want to behave this way around my children." Same thing if you're a father. Same
Yeah.
thing if you're in partnership. You're in the workplace or you have a business and you have employees. How are you treating your employees? What is the state of your business? What's the state of your psychological and emotional health? This kind of stuff, looking inwards and getting real with who you are. And like you said before, Joel, the external world is going to give you feedback.
Mm-hmm.
And it's up to you to not rationalize and justify that shit away, but do you have the capacity and the capability to sit with it and go, "Oh yeah, there's some truth there. I need to shift. I need to change. That wasn't cool. How I spoke to that person wasn't ideal." you know? And so like we talk about self-responsibility. It's a word that gets thrown out there all the time, but it's like radical self-responsibility. It is the most empowering thing that you can embody. Point the finger towards yourself instead of continuing to point the finger externally.
Yeah.
Control what you can control instead of focusing on so much out there that you cannot control. So it's like, man, like I'm thinking, and again, we're sitting here talking, we started a podcast, we're doing our thing. That doesn't mean that like everyone listening, why aren't you starting a podcast? Why aren't you starting a group coaching program? Like we're living our life as best as we can at this stage in our lives. I think about my past. I grew up in a, first generation Greek household. I was first generation Greek American. My parents were like, had expectations of me to maybe be a doctor or a lawyer or like something of that nature. But there is something in me. I don't know where it came from. I don't know it's because of my astrology or my human design. Probably to some degree, these things play on us in terms of what your unique nature is. But like there's a moment in time, there are choice points in life where you may know something about yourself, but do you act on that? There was
Yeah.
something in me that was like, no, I'm not going to go down this path. I'm not going to just do what my parents want me to do. I don't want to stay in my hometown. I want to move away, and that was like an initial thing of following that interest. I'm going to move away and go to school. Okay. Then you have a whole bunch of experiences in life. And then you're living from there and you go, what? I don't want to just get a job right after college. I want to go on an adventure. And so, like, what is that thing within you that is this compass that is more aligned with the essence and truth of who you are? And are you honoring that? Obviously, we talk about human design. It's a system that I'm into. And I think authority within human design is your unique decision-making process. I found value in that over the years. And even before I knew about human design, I realized I was making decisions that way. And so do you take this information and this knowledge that you learn from the books you read, from the workshops you have, from the systems you get exposed to, and how do you apply them into your life? Great. Knowledge is power. Amazing. It's great to know things. It starts there. But ultimately, how are you applying these things in your life? And how are you taking action in your life towards these things? What's keeping you from leaving a relationship that you don't want to be in? What's keeping you from leaving the office job that is draining your soul? What's keeping you from not speaking the truth of who you are to the friends in your life that maybe don't even really know who you are because you're not using your voice to express who you are? What is that? This is where the introspection has to come in these instances, to really get clear on why are you doing the things that you're doing? Why are you behaving how you're behaving? Why are you saying the things that you're doing or saying?
Yeah.
And then, like, this is where, like, again, knowledge and understanding your inner world, understanding the architecture of your psyche, which has laid the foundation for my work. And my first foray into personal development work was being exposed to parts work, which had a huge impact on me and how I understood myself and the multiplicity within myself. And then also the dance of relationship. You're dealing with another person that has this multiplicity and the multiplicity within you. So how do you navigate that? We are these beings with so many aspects to us, you know? Do you understand that? Can you self-reflect? Can you take ownership for behaviors that maybe are less than ideal? And then with knowing this stuff, then how do you build? How do you create? How do you go after the stuff that you really want in life? You know? And if you don't know what you really want, something Joel and I say often, then get very clear on what you don't want. I believe it's called the apophatic process.
Yeah. Sometimes I like
What
to call
don't
it
you want?
the anti-vision.
Yes. What don't you want? Cool. Start there. Okay. You're in an abusive relationship. Get the fuck out. Do what you have to do to get the fuck out and then go from there.
Yeah.
Because right here, we're dealing with this dance of polarity of certainty and uncertainty. And so many people will stay in situations, careers, relationships, living in the same place because there is a sense of certainty and even safety within that, even if on one another level it's not safe. And so
Yep.
do you have the capacity within yourself to live with uncertainty, to live in the unknown, to say, you know what, I'm going to make a decision because I know for a fact this is not what I want, but it's going to move me closer to something.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, the more that you prolong avoiding those decisions that you know are actually more aligned to truth, this these are incredibly blowful. These are incredible blows to your self-esteem. Each time you deny the truth of the matter and you refuse to act upon it, and you stay in, say, the toxic, abusive relationship for way too long, you stay in the dead end job or career for way too long, you are signaling to yourself on a deep, unconscious level that you are not worthy, that you are not deserving, that you are not capable. And you just settle deeper and deeper into this quiet desperation, into this muck. And so, courage, you know, it requires courage. It requires you to turn and face those demons and to stake that flag into the ground and to have those moments of heroism where it's like, enough, I'm done, and enter into the unknown and walk into the abyss and see what is possible on the other side. It's like, you need to value your right to differentiation, to be genuinely fucking different, right? I don't mean different by blue hair and a Ukraine flag. I mean difference by the fact that you have unique purpose, right? It's like there is something that you can give and that wants to unfold for you that no one else is currently doing and that no one else can do. Like, we sound like a broken record sometimes saying this stuff, but it's like there is a calling there, and the calling keeps on calling. And the calling can come in varying degrees at any time in your life, regardless of what stage you're at.
Yeah, and I think this is also too, like, where like substance abuse can play in, is that calling is knocking on the door and it's like, I don't want to listen. I don't want to listen. I want to keep distracting myself from some deeper thing within. And when I say calling, I'm not just saying like, oh, your life's calling and your life purpose. I'm saying the calling of something deeper within you that knows what needs to be done, the actions that you need to take in your life, in your relationships, etc. And so again, that's another area to take a look at. You have 24 hours in a day. How are you spending those 24 hours? Probably 7 or 8 of them you're sleeping,
Hopefully.
but hopefully. But many people not. They can't sleep. They have insomnia issues, and so that's another thing. Well, how can you? Let's focus on that first. How can you support your sleep because you need that? What's the phrase? Is it the lowest hanging fruit? Is that it,
Yeah.
or is it something? Anyways, so it's like, yeah, I lost my train of thought there, but
That's all right. That's all right. And like the other thing that I wanted to say is like this word entrepreneur, it means the one who takes risk. And so for me, even the mother who is deciding to raise their kids differently to the status quo is calling upon some essence of that entrepreneurial spirit in taking a risk to do things differently, to do things a little more aligned. And we can all call upon this spirit at any given time. And all this is asking of us is to really embody that courage and to stand on your business, so to speak. And it's like the world is going to tell you, and culture is going to tell you time and time again that this is the wrong way. It's going to try shame you. It's going to try gaslight you. It's going to try guilt you. The other people who have eaten the forbidden fruit, they're going to try to tell you, like, oh, just, put them in a government school. Oh, just, offload them here or there. And that's fine if people choose that path, whatever. I'm just using this example. But it's like it requires uncommon courage to be able to stick to one's values in the face of adversity, in the face of judgment, in the face of fear. And that is one definition of heroism, is being able to persevere in the face of one's values, even when all this hardship comes about. But most people, they cannot stand the truth. Like, and this is just the fact of the matter. And even within this so-called truther movement, you still see how externally oriented most people are, just absorbed in the narrative, just absorbed in the story, just looking so desperately for any piece of information that's going to confirm their bias so then they can share it and be like, look, I was right. I was the one that had the truth. But what is the state of their lives? What is the state of their conviction to their values? And it's like the person that I admire, the person that I revere, is the person who understands their bedrock of values and lives it. They properly live it. It's embodied. Even when things are difficult in the home, even when it's difficult raising kids, even when kids are fighting and you're trying to grow yourself and grow a business and all the rest of it. Like that perseverance, that's
yeah,
the power right there.
yeah. And when we talk about uncommon courage, what goes along with that too is you have to be okay with disappointing the people closest to you in your life very often. The ones that are projecting how they think you should live your life, how you should raise your kids, etc. And so this is why self-esteem is necessary,
Yep.
because if not, then are you going to stand up for what you believe in, for your convictions? When the world goes to shit in 2020, how are you going to act? How are you going to behave? This podcast, this working relationship, what we've built, what we've created, would not have existed if both of us weren't clear on who we were and how we were going to act and behave at that time.
Yep.
The people that I have, I mean, I can't even tell you the number of friends that unfollowed me, that came into my DMs, that were insulting me based on the things I was sharing, the things that I was posting in 2020. Now, I was blessed that a few of those friends we've reconciled, and that's great. But again, it's like you have to be okay with that. Can you be okay with not being liked? Can you be okay with being so sure on this is who I am, this is my mission, this is my person, this is my purpose. I know what I'm about. I like who I am. I'm going to live my life unapologetically. And again, not in a place where like the rebel takes over your psyche, the like fuck everyone takes over your psyche, you have no discernment. It's just I'm pretty matter of factly going to do my thing. And
Yep.
hey, you can do your thing. Just if you're going to try to encroach on my freedom to be myself and to share what I need to share, then maybe we have an issue. But like that level of comfort in self,
Yep.
in mind, in body is required. And when you live, this is the thing. When you live that way, Like you wonder why like your life and your community and your friendships aren't what they are. But when you live this way, you're using your entire being and your essence and your voice and the energy that you put out to the world to signal, this is who I am, this is what I'm about. Where are my people?
Yeah.
Where are my people at?
Yeah.
And if you don't, people aren't psychic. People don't know who you are, where you stand, what's at the depths of your soul and your psyche if you're not expressing it. And so, like, man, I'm so grateful that we did what we did at the time, and the amazing human beings that have came across this podcast that are in Friends of the Truth that we get to hang out with, that are I consider dear friends of mine. And that all just came from doing what we could at that time to just, hey, this is what I'm about. I have zero tolerance for the lie. Thank you, Michael Tazarian. And I'm not gonna go along just to get along.
Yep.
So unfollow me, curse me out to old friends. Tell everyone, oh, he's this crazy MAGA person because he's questioning vaccines and the COVID narrative. Like, okay, cool. I'm just gonna keep on living my amazing, beautiful life with my wife, with the community that I'm building, with my business partner as best as I can. Great. Call me arrogant. Call me full of myself. Okay. The proof is in the pudding. I love my life. It's not always easy. It's tough and challenging, but all of it, I love it. I love that we met. I love that I consider you a brother and a business partner and a dear friend. They didn't happen by magic. Okay, maybe magic with like, in the other sense, but it didn't happen.
Yeah.
It happened because you get clear on who you are. You're not going to accept anything less than, man, I want to live my life according to who I am and my values.
Yeah.
And I'm going to act from that place. I'm not going to live in constant self-consciousness and micromanaging. Oh, I just said that. Oh, no, maybe I shouldn't talk here. Oh, and then all of a sudden, like the moment's passed. You're living your life. You're adjusting as you go. You're gaining greater and greater self-awareness through that interplay of introspection and living in the world and taking action. And then like that's where I think the magic can happen in your life. That's why I love the source cards too that Alexander introduced me to. He's like, we all talk about like, oh, you got to play your cards right. What happens when you play your cards right? The magic happens. Oh, cards, they're associated with magic. Interesting.
Mhm.
And it doesn't have to be the cards. And also, even with these systems, you don't even need any of them. They've worked for us. They're tools. There are a lot of people in the world that haven't ever come across this stuff and they live fulfilled, awesome lives. But we live in this interesting time right now of so many more distractions, upheaval, conditioning, confusion. So some of these systems are coming more to the forefront and they're tools. They're not things to get dogmatic about. They're tools. But at the end of the day, putting your phone down, putting your computer down, going and spending an entire day in the forest and being with yourself and feeling what you feel and getting clear and connecting to the greatness, the mystery, that may bring you the essence. That may bring you answers to questions that you have.
Yeah.
So,
Nah, man. Mic drop. Mic drop for sure. And it's like, who are you here to impact? I heard a great quote from Daniel Ek, the founder of Spotify, the other day. And it's like, I think he said optimizing impact is more important than optimizing happiness. And like, in my personal experience, happiness is a byproduct of impact,
yep.
And I think we're all here to serve someone. We're all here to give something of ourselves to someone else, to lift them a little bit higher. I don't mean in the altruistic sense, which just breeds resentment and guilt and all this toxic bullshit, but in the genuine sense of recognizing and cultivating deeper value within oneself, being a person of value and sharing that to the world, giving that and impacting other people. That's the highest good, man. That's the highest good. And when you ignore the call, each time you refuse to answer when those moments that require deeper courage from you, you're doing a disservice to all of us. You're not just doing a disservice to yourself, you're doing a disservice to everyone.
Yeah, there's a quote when you were talking that made me think, the Picasso quote, which is, the meaning of life is to find your gift. The purpose of life is to give it away.
Mm-hmm.
And that's definitely a quote that has inspired me over the years. But again, it starts with the self. It starts with you. It's not sacrificing who you are. It's not being a not self
Yep.
and then just living in a people pleasing state and just serving and taking care of everyone else. It's really knowing who you are, knowing what you value, giving the gifts in the world from that place. Giving
Yep.
from an overflowing cup as opposed to an empty cup.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And like real wealth creation, and I'm not talking strictly financial, like wealth, as in love, as in joy, as in self esteem, as in friendships. Like you have the opportunity to cultivate wealth creation every single day of your life. Um, Charlie Munger has a great quote where he says, "Trust is the most important economic factor in the world." And like, I just couldn't agree more. You know, it's like every single day you have the opportunity to sow seeds of goodwill and trust all around you. And those seeds of goodwill and trust over time will grow into oak trees of goodwill and trust. And it'll feed your life in ways that are actually immeasurable over time. So, like, when you wake up in the morning, you ask yourself, what can I do today? It's like, who can I extend goodwill and trust to? Who can I offer gratitude to? Who can I impact in a positive way just for the sake of impacting someone in a positive way? Because that's going to feed you, that's going to sustain you. The relationships that you build are the essence, ultimately, of the life that you're going to experience.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like when I think of value, like authenticity and trust.
Yeah, man.
That is what is going to be required more and more as we move forward into this world, in the digital world, in the AI world. Like, how authentic can you be? And do people trust you? And do they want to, work with you? Do they want to be in relationship to you, et cetera? I mean, again, you talked about wealth before. There's so many types of wealth,
Yeah,
so many
man.
different types of capital. Like, great, you can make money. Awesome. What are your relationships like? What are your networks like?
Yeah.
How are you living? What's your body like? What's the health of your body?
Yeah.
You know?
Especially as the world becomes more AI and those moments of real human interaction become scarce. Like leveraging that is going to be so much more powerful going forward. You know, I think much of the economy of the future is going to hinge upon authenticity and real world human interactions. And as most people are throwing their minds into the abyss, they're trying to, find so many shortcuts into a dystopia which ultimately isn't going to serve them. Those who can attune and turn their attention to really building the right way, connecting in real authentic ways, are ultimately going to see the fruits over a longer period of time. And we talk about this analogy a lot. Like with anything in life, like real prosperity happens when you pour love over an extended period of time. That's what ultimately yields fruit and yields results. It's the same that goes for a garden, the same that goes for a business, the same that goes for a relationship. And so be willing to play the long term game. You know, as again, Naval would say, play long term games with long term people. And so find those people. They're probably around you already, and build those connections and grow together and share your vision with those who are willing to offer the same trust and goodwill that you are willing to.
I love
And,
everything you said, man.
and be willing to tolerate discomfort,
I know.
be willing to tolerate uncertainty in that process, be willing for the vision and the objective to shift and change a number of times.
Yeah. think that's also why, we've been such advocates. And I know I've spent some years training in nervous system work, and that we brought Sophie on board in Rise Above the Herd to lead a very intentional nervous system component. Because again, what is the state of your nervous system? The state of your nervous system is going to impact the way you think about yourself, the way you feel, the way you take action in life. If you even have the capacity to deal with discomfort.
Yeah.
So again, are you building greater capacity to hold more of you in? To have the nuance and the versatility to move through different states in your life, which will support you in relationship, but will support you in career and how you take action in the world and how you respond to stimuli in the world. And so again, we do our best to look at things from a holistic level, and it's what has inspired us to do what we do and create what we create. Like I just don't, and I know not everyone shares this, but like what is more spiritual than becoming who you were born to be? If we're been given this gift of God, if God created us, then again, what are we doing with that creation?
That's right. That's right. Do you really think God is telling you to be a nothing, to become a nothing, to drop your interests, to not engage in the world, to not pursue, to not continue to, carve carve Adam out of stone as Michelangelo did? It's to continue to refine. That Nietzsche quote comes to mind: become the master and the sculptor of yourself. Like, and there's so many traps and pitfalls along the way in terms of what is divine, what is sacred, what is spiritual. Yet we forget that this world that our senses are perceiving is obviously primary for a reason. It's primary because it's where our consciousness is being called towards. What God wants of you is to face reality, to turn your whole being, to turn all your consciousness towards reality, not away from it, not into the afterlife, not to regress back into a womb-like state where you don't want to think anything, you don't want to be angry, you don't want to feel anything. None of that shit. What is reality calling of you? Beyond being a quote unquote truth warrior, which is so ambiguous with everyone's different ideas of truth that exist today, be a reality warrior. What is reality asking of you? Where are you being called to wield your sword and shield at this point in time? Maybe you're a medic. Maybe you're not a fighter. Maybe you're a medic. Maybe you're a healer. Maybe you're a lover. Maybe you're an amalgamation of all of it, being called at different times in your life in different arenas. But what is reality asking of you? And where are you averting or avoiding reality? Again, I mean, I love all these quotes, right? The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. Joseph Campbell. He said it. It's one of my favorite quotes of all time. But it's like, if you don't know what to do, if you're listening to this and you're feeling lost, you don't know what your interests are. Okay, where are your fears? What are the conversations that you're afraid to have? What are the things that you're afraid of losing? What are the what are the what are the what are the weak foundations that are holding up this status quo that is just fucking ready to crumble? Are you really willing to die to the inauthentic life, to give the authentic life a chance of grounding itself?
Yeah. And are you using your imagination to move your life forward closer to that vision? Or is your imagination coming from deep places of fear that's keeping you away from what you really want deep inside? Again, another great quote. We suffer more in imagination than reality. Seneca.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I love having these conversations. I just think they're so foundational. They're so important. They just cut to the heart of the matter of what does it mean to be an individual? What does it mean to have meaning and purpose in life? And what are you doing with the gift that you've been given? The miracle that you are. I mean, how many times do I need to say it? the miracle that you are. What did it take for you to be born? Just that. All your ancestors, what did they go through? All their struggles, all their choices, all their decisions, pain, suffering, death, joy, love, connections, journeys across the world.
Yeah.
All these little choices that were made that led to your mom and dad meeting,
Yeah.
that led to you being born.
Yeah.
Your soul coming into this world in a body. Like,
Wow, man.
exactly.
The immensity of that. The immensity of the gift that you've been given. And what do
It's
you do?
overwhelming sometimes, man. Like when you really sit with that, what
Right.
it took to be alive. Like, man, like it's like goosebumps and like chills. And I don't want to waste this gift.
And I don't want to offend anyone, but it's like in hearing that, can you really go back and sit in that cubicle? Can you really go back and sit, just doing what everyone else is doing? Can you really stay in relationships that are eating away at your soul? Can you really? Is that the level of devotion that you have to God, to life, to the mystery? Is that what it is? Is that what you came here for?
Yep.
Take this as a reminder. Just take this as a reminder. We love you guys. Every single person over the last 5 years that has decided to put some time aside and listen to us and our guests, we love you. We appreciate you. We are so grateful because without you, without your attention, without your consciousness, without your existence, none of this would be possible. And we genuinely want the best for you. We want to inspire. Our mission is to inspire as many people as possible to live more authentic lives, and not in an overwhelming sense where everyone's called to be gladiator, to be patriot, or to be Aragorn, or to be whatever it might be. But if you believe that your life can be more authentic than what it is now, and you walk away from this conversation, or you walk away from our membership communities, or you walk away from our programs, and you feel a little bit closer to that truth and to that authenticity than you did before you engaged with anything that we're putting out in the world, man, that fills my fucking heart beyond belief.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. Me too, man. And that's the world I want to see, more people being who they are in all the glory and the complexity of what it means to be a human being, loving themselves, coming together with aligned community where you're not sacrificing who you are in order to get along, where you
Yeah.
honor one another's individuality and uniqueness and genius and gift. That's how I want to live my life. That's how I live my life. And that's where I put my time and energy. And that's why we created Friends of the Truth.
Yeah. You are loved beyond belief, and very often we're the last people to really learn how to love ourselves. And it takes time. It takes time. But just speaking from personal experience, like I'm so grateful for this unique incarnation. I'm so grateful for this unique blend of parents and circumstances and environments and divine blueprint of my being and of my soul through these different systems. Like, I love being a Scorpio. I love being a generator. I love being emotional. I love being a jack of hearts. I love being like all this stuff. It's like, come on. You have unique skills. You have unique attributes. You were formed in a way that no one else is formed. And so, yeah, there is a hand of cards that is asking to be played a certain way. Learn to love yourself, accept yourself on the deepest level, cut away everything that you're not, right? You don't need to have the gifts that someone else has. You have the gifts that you have. Unwrap that shit and give it to the world.
Boom.
Yo, thanks so much for listening, guys. Again, we appreciate it so much. I just want to remind you that for the next 7 days, we have the most ridiculous offer ever on Rise Above the Herd, which once upon a time, previous live cohort students paid up to $3,000 USD for. And this offer is a far cry from that. So if you're down to learn more, jump into the Rise Above the Herd interest group in the link below. And that's the only place where we'll have the offer and also the video where you can really learn more about the why that we're offering this and what it really entails. All I can say is that if you go to hereforthetruth.com/RATH, you can read all the testimonials for yourself about the level of impact that this program has had previously.